Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Deconstructor of Fun This Week in Games podcast number 313, where we give you all of our game industry insider takes on the top game news stories each week. Hi, I am Jen Donahoe. I fill the marketing and publishing role on the action RPG that we call TWIG. Today we have
Phillip Black, game economist, merry MTX, and happy IEP to all.
Oh my God. Eric Kress, the master of strategy and investing.
Mishka Katkoff, the founder whisperer. I have it here. And it also says, just somebody put this here, X product. And I got triggered. I got triggered by this so much that in this episode, I am going to talk about games and product a lot. So be prepared.
Fantastic. And by the way, I only wrote down what you said 2 weeks ago.
My mind kind of forgets everything that happens 2 weeks ago. It just starts like a goldfish every time. So.
I love that you just compared yourself to a goldfish who, once we get into Nordic talk, is probably trapped in ice somewhere, considering this time of year. All right, here's what we have on the episode today. Later on at the end, we'll talk about the game awards, which Mishka wrote is the Jeff Keighley Awards. It's pretty funny. Squadbusters releases a massive new update. Will it turn the decline? We're going to get into some of the new product features that they have. Netflix games got GTA'd. Oh my God, I can't wait to talk about this one.
Oh my God.
And then licensing strikes back is what I'd like to call that. And then A16Z Games offers big ideas for Kress to chew on or choke on if we get to that at the very, very, very end. Mishka, I'm just cracking you up today. Like, what's going on? You're like my personal laugh track.
I don't know. I just came from the gym. I feel good. This is like a last working day. So I'm feeling good. It's a fun day.
Well, let me start with some fun. And thanks to the Supercell LinkedIn team, they are cracking me up. So first, in our Slack channel, please apply to join. It's a lot of fun. People are posting not only funny shit like this, but also really helpful and useful information. So somebody put in this post from the Supercell team, and it was them going in and basically saying, hey, everybody, we're really close to beating King's LinkedIn follower count. And yes, we're absolutely going to make it about Finland versus Sweden. Swipe for our totally reasonable and not at all desperate strategy. Number one is I was like, this is really funny. Good job. And then they followed it up with the Finnish winter filter, which basically just shows everything just going to black. And then they posted another post. It's like, look, it's Finland at 2:00 in the afternoon, 3:00, 4. It was just a black image. Just like chef's kiss, LinkedIn Supercell team. Well done. So Mishka, I wanted to ask you, like, what's up with your Finnish friends picking a fight on LinkedIn? Is this a thing? I guess you're just always fighting with the Swedes. I don't know. Yeah. I don't get it. Explain it to me, please.
Like you could take it in a way that you start explaining history and doing all this, a deep dive. So instead, I would like to explain everything through the images of Daniel Craig. So this is like the key Nordic countries. There's 4 of them. There's the rich Norway, the sophisticated and wealthy Sweden. There's always hot and sexy Denmark. And then there's Finland. Like this is also, by the way, how our economies look like. Like Phil can attest to this. And then people kind of ask, like, what's Iceland look like? And it's a little bit of a different image, like sort of a grungy looking Daniel Craig. I was posting these images, like everybody who's in Nordics were like, these are incredibly accurate. And then I got challenged. They were like, show us Russian Daniel Craig. so we found one as well. And the next one is this. So here you got it. Like every nationality basically represented by Daniel Craig, what an actor. And that sort of the first image kind of tells you why Finns are so eager to compete with anybody.
Isn't this like David fighting David, or the Clash of the Titans in miniature? Like, who gives a fuck? Small countries.
Yeah, these are smaller than a typical state. So we're talking about countries that have less than 10 million in population, like Norway's.
He said wearing his H&M sweatshirt, listening to his Spotify. ABBA Golden Album vinyl behind him.
The best thing is you got to find a British actor to represent this analogy here. Well done.
Yes. Well done, Daniel. So that's it. So that's Daniel Craig explaining why Finns are challenging the Swedes. inferiority complex. That's the reason. So anyway, let's move on.
All right, go ahead. Let's start chilling.
Shilling, a couple of things. So on the podcast side, I had a podcast called From Segmentation to Personalization with SciPlay's Cameron Stewart. So I wanted to have on a podcast somebody who is really, really good with live ops. And the first thing that comes to my mind is social casino company, not really relying on new downloads, but really having that long retention and understanding how they run their teams, both from the organization side, what kind of tools they use, etc. So really a deep dive on how SciPlay, which is one of the best social casino companies in the world, really, how they run their operations. So if you're interested in live ops, this is an interesting podcast. And then on the event side, we got the Supper Club on Sunday. So we got the first signups. If you're coming to London, check it out, put your name in. We're approving the first batch, I believe, tomorrow. So make sure that you sign up and get the invite and see you there. And then there will be a link to the mixer that will happening on Monday. So both events will be at Soho House. Should be a fun times.
Awesome. Well, I just recorded another live ops podcast with folks from Playtika, Wooga, and Game Refinery.
Nice.
So that'll be out in the new year. We cover a little bit more of like what are the trends that we're seeing in terms of live ops in general, and how are social features going, how are engagement features and monetization features. So I'm excited, and I think the Playtika folks might argue with you of who is better in social casino. Anyway, just saying.
Yeah, they're great. They're great. Jen and I, we've changed roles. Like I've been recording all the marketing podcasts and you're doing product podcasts. So it's been fun. We should continue this. I ask all the stupid questions.
I like it because I learn. And then I like hearing you ask stupid questions in the marketing ones. It's pretty fun. No, you do great. No, you're doing a really great job. Thank you for picking those up because many of those are European focused. All right. So my quick thank you is to Planet Play for another great game industry happy hour that was in Los Angeles. We did a watch party for the Game Awards because I didn't want to sit in a chair for 4 hours. And lots of fans of the podcast came. Thanks to all of them. I think, Kress, they still love you. They still love you.
Why?
I don't know. Dude, I don't know.
I'm trying to be as mean as possible. So no one wants to listen to me anymore.
No, they did say keep up the fighting. Again, like it's pretty funny when I ask people for feedback, the number one thing they say, well, first they say is they love the content and our takes, but they do say they love when we fight. So let's fight more.
Yeah.
Not you and I, just us and us in general. So let's move on. Corrections. Phil wants to glorify asking for lots of money in Path of Exile. Is that what's going on?
So this was from two different people that reported in. One was on the Slack, Josh Kennewick, that Path of Exile, when we were talking about it, having different SKUs, being able to monetize on those founders packs up front. I wasn't quite sure whether or not they had any, and Adam stepped in and said, oh yeah, they do have up to $100 SKUs. It turns out they actually have up to $500 SKUs. They're available on the website. They send you a t-shirt at that stage. You actually get some physical merch. But wow, the Kiwis are up to good business, and I love it. So $500 SKU, like New Year goal, start with that. How can we get your game to a $500 SKU?
Is this a Tencent company?
Yes, they're owned by Tencent wholly.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
I have one correction, and it was regarding Roblox and UEFN. And basically, the expert in this space basically suggested that there has been absolutely no profitable entity that has built games for Roblox and UEFN without significant amounts of external investment.
What about Adopt Me, the studio who makes Adopt Me?
that's-
They've scaled. They're doing 80 million a year.
That was the claim. The fact that it's a very, very challenging model across both platforms, and to articulate it any other way is disingenuous.
Not sure about that.
Yeah, me too. Like there's a lot of kids who built like their companies and sold as an asset to one of these aggregators that have raised money, like Voldex and GameFam and so forth.
But you have to ask yourself, are the games themselves profitable? Or are the companies themselves profitable? Or are they just aggregating for users and scale? So anyway, the person I know is an expert and I trust him. And I know he did a lot of work on this space. So,
Okay. right.
But if there's any examples that don't fit that, yeah, let us know.
We need Lowenfels's kids back on the podcast too.
Yeah, I mean, they know what's popular. They don't know what's profitable, right?
Yeah, I'm sure their dad can teach that. Like, so.
Maybe we do more deep dives on that. I think that it's just like any platform. When you're in the top, you're printing cash. But for the majority of folks, it's not the case.
It's not like Roblox is profitable either. So
That is true, but Q3 was the first time they finally lost less money. And so, yay. Well, I mean, they're getting rewarded for it. Their stock is up. Have you
I
seen
know.
it? It's hit at least a 52-week high, if not the biggest high since they kind of went public, or they had a big high in 2021, November 21.
I would hold on to that excitement on the stock.
Ooh.
Oh,
just saying. We'll see after this quarter.
This is the quarter that they really spend a lot, and it could really, kill the year, so to speak. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
But I think they also had to clamp down on this predatory PED thing that, is all over their site. So
Yeah, they put out a ton of trust and safety feature announcements.
yeah, which may impact monetization from that
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah, no, yeah, from that audience. Well, they also they're marketing the 25% off Robux right now. Like, I was checking out their ads in Sensor Tower, and they're doing UA for go out and get a discount on Robux, because I don't think I've ever seen that from a gaming
Huh.
company before, like that in mobile UA. I mean, you obviously see it on console all the time
Yeah.
with AAA games discounting, but not for mobile UA on a gift card. Fascinating. Okay.
Kick-ass live ops need kick-ass tools. That's where Heroic Labs comes in. They just released a massive update to their Satori live ops platform. And having done my research, I can say with confidence that it's second to none. In a single product, you get everything you need, including event capture, player segmentation, feature flags, remote configuration, A/B testing, experimentation, live events calendar, messaging, retention grafing, analytics, and so much more. If you're serious about running live services in a game, get serious about the tools you use. Connect with Heroic Labs and make some serious cheese with your live ops.
Let's get into, ironically, Epic. So Epic signs a new deal with Telefonica to pre-install the Epic Game Store on new Android devices for easier access to Fortnite. So this goes live in Spain, Germany, the UK, and Spanish-speaking Latin American countries. This is interesting because it kind of goes around the Google Play Store, and I think many of you know there's a lot of lawsuits going on. Can preloads make a comeback? I remember back in the day, this was a huge money-making idea for us when we were at EA, Kress, and getting preloads on, and everyone kind of stopped because the app stores became dominant. So
Dude, this is like 300 million people use Telefonica. I didn't know it was that big. Holy crap.
yeah, that's why I'm like, it's a big deal. I mean, I think, it's not in the US, so people often ignore that, but this is a pretty big deal.
God damn it. I hate to be always negative Nelly on this stupid thing, but like at the end of the day, how many devices does Samsung sell in a year, right? They've had their goddamn fucking store on the Samsung devices for decades, dude. They haven't done fuck all, right? So I just be clear, right? It's like, this is not like the recipe for success necessarily.
What's different in this case is that, do you remember when we talked about the friction? There's like 19 steps to install the Epic Game Store on Android
Yes. Yeah.
So now if it's just there, if it's just preloaded and you remove that friction, and when you get that service, perhaps that reduces a lot of the I don't think this is the be all end all solution, but if they start to have success with this, and God only knows how much they're paying to get preloaded on there, because typically, remember back in the day, we had to pay for this because it's like UA.
Yeah.
Do you know what the CPIs are?
I have no idea what the deal was for.
That's only the store. And then you open up, there's 3 games in that store.
What do you think they're paying for it for something like this? If you had to ballpark it.
Oh, God, I
They're
don't
probably
know.
paying out of their ass. 100 million. Easy.
Oh, $5 an install.
That's actually a pretty good deal. That's a pretty
I
good
bet
deal
it's
if
a
it's
couple,
my
I bet
opinion.
it's $1, like something like
a dollar? Yeah, like a more discounted.
that. And then maybe they get some back end royalty on any like small amount of money on any sales on it. I don't know. Something like
I mean,
Yeah.
Telefonica is the real winner here. I mean, if you're telling me they can sell an app space for 500 million, are you kidding me? They have the most valuable real estate in the world.
Yeah. Essentially like a widget. Like there's 3 games in the Epic store. Like literally 3 games.
It's still a service that needs to retain. It needs to inspire and retain. And just getting this on the screen doesn't do that much.
Yeah, I have it on my screen, never opened. I opened once. I saw 3 games. I'm like, cool. Fine.
You're not like a 12-year-old kid playing Fortnite, my friend.
Sometimes I feel like it.
To be fucking clear, Samsung sells 200 million devices a year for the last decade or more, and they have gotten fuck all in terms of market share on stores. Just to be clear. And they have it front and center with like as much promotional shit as they want to do on their own phone, right? It's automatically installed. Like, it is an uphill battle, all right?
I agree. Totally, it's an uphill battle. It's an interesting move we should keep an eye on. That's all I'm saying, because that's
Let's stay positive. Things can change.
Fuck that. Fuck that, dude. This is 2024. No positive. Maybe in 2025, we get more positive, right? 2024, negative.
I'm going to say it could work. It could work.
Let's go.
Kress got coal in his Shalom stocking, that I'm going to give him for Hanukkah/Christmas.
So I have one piece of news. So AppLovin is changing the aspect ratio for its video ads. Landscape won't be supported anymore. So this was interesting. So I called up John, who was in my time zone, John Wright. And his theory is that the most games in landscape are mid-core. Mid-core is predominantly in-app purchase focused. When advertisers upload landscape, it messes with algorithms, giving it another thing to think about. Removing that will help Axon work better. And Axon is AI matching system and also the reason why e-commerce is taking off for AppLovin. So this was his take, not my take.
Huh.
Next.
All right.
Who gives a shit?
Really at the end of the year.
Actually, I mean, it's a big deal when you're thinking about all of the crazy ads that you have to build. And if your game is landscape, you're kind of fucked. All right, fine. Jesus. Brawl Stars is turning 6. And they're doing a collaboration with Toy Story from December 12th to February 5th. Buzz Lightyear is going to be the first ever playable character inside of Brawl Stars that is not from their universe. As the former franchise manager for Toy Story at Disney, I can say that Toy Story is getting the better end of this deal. Toy Story is a preschool brand that appeals to no kid over the age of 3 unless you are nostalgic and you grew up with that brand. So this brand is struggling to stay relevant. So congrats to Disney, who just revived your brand and made some money. Well done, because you got not only your brand in front of 12-year-olds who might think you're cool, you're also getting a licensing deal. So good job. All right, let's go to investments and M&A. And Netflix. Here we go, Kress.
I am embarrassed that I didn't know this ahead of time, since I was so in the know about this particular thing. But it says Netflix is removing GTA 3 and Vice City from its gaming library after 1 year. And that's fucking crazy, okay? Because I knew that they spent around $50 million on these licenses, but I assumed that it was part of the service. Like, it wasn't like going to expire in 1 year. Like, that is crazy.
It's crazy.
So this has got to be the dumbest $50 million spent ever, right? From an investment perspective, right? All they did was push the vanity metrics of downloads, right? Which they are still quoting in their PR today. So in that sense, maybe they got some use out of this bullshit, right? But a 1 year commitment for $50 million, are they out of their goddamn minds, right? It's just, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, this is not what is going to drive engagement for interactive on their platforms, is some tchotchke bullshit download. Like, let's get some fucking products already, right? But, oh my God.
Do you think that they got out of the deal? Like, what if, okay, I'm spitballing, I don't know anything, but what if they were like, hey, this actually didn't do what we wanted it to do? And what if Netflix like tried to exit the deal early and save some of the 50 million that they were spending, because it actually wasn't helping them?
Well, it could have been the better upside than what they had, which is that they keep quoting it in press releases. What would have been a better upside? Like, I guess the assumption here is that when you put this on the platform, people are going to be driven to the platform, but you still have to download separate apps, right? Like, the Netflix app is a controller. It's a central controller. You still have to go to the individual apps. So it's hard to, like, the whole Epic game strategy with free games was to give away live service games, because every time you booted a live service game, you need to boot Epic Game Store. And I don't think you can run that playbook here really effectively. Like, you can push new apps, but you can't be playing GTA and push me, I guess, back to the central app. And that, I mean, that's a tough place to be, but I have a hard time imagining they had a higher ceiling for it than what they already got.
how long are we going to continue the story of like, they're smart people, they're very data driven, they're testing and seeing what has traction.
Dude, I worked at Amazon Games, man.
No, but like
The answer is a long time.
Yeah,
but
clearly.
even like man, like they've spent,
hope it's a long
according to like the sources that are very reliable, they've spent well over $3 billion on Netflix
Chump
games.
change. We looked at the remember, we on a quarterly basis, we looked at content as what, 12 billion a year for
I
content, or 12 billion a
understand.
quarter.
I understand, but you have to have something to show off. Like
Agreed.
this week, I'll say
Agreed.
this weekend, I played Netflix games. I downloaded Civilization 6, and it only showed me that, hey, UX on a game that is designed for PC is not that good when you're playing it on a tablet. And I played it for a couple hours. I'm like, okay, cool, fuck this, and uninstalled it. And I don't know how much they paid for Civilization, probably $7 to $10 million to put it in, no ads, and like, here's an old Civilization since all of you want to play the newest one. Eric, what's your prediction for Netflix games 2026? Let's hop over that 1 year, the grace period for the new executive, 2026.
Oh, 2026. Okay.
Yeah,
My
not
hope,
next. Yeah.
I get it. My hope is they start to swim in their own lane, right? They start releasing new content that fits their fucking platform, right? Stop messing with this mobile shit. Stop the AAA development, right? Create some new interactive shit, story experiences, that blows our collective minds. That is what I hope. And that's what I've always hoped from the very beginning, was like, this is what I wish they were doing, right? It's like, experiment, iterate. The problem is that they haven't even started iterating yet, right? They haven't even thrown something to see out there what sticks at all. All this is tchotchke bullshit, right? That doesn't make any sense. The AAA game obviously has been canceled, so at least they're going right that way. But like, that's what I want to see. I want to see them try new stuff, right?
All right. I got one hint of what they're trying. Okay, so there was a New York Times article that came out on December 10th, which actually ironically kind of coincided and happened to mention that they still had one GTA left. But the thing about the headline was, they're like, Netflix's surprising selection of free video games. And so without reading like the subheader, I was like, wait, they have a free game outside of the network? And then the headline was still like, oh, it's still there. Now, however, the new Squid Games game, it's called Squid Games Unleashed, is released, and you do not need a Netflix subscription for a limited time. It very clearly says in the app notes, and there's IAP, and it's a 32-person multiplayer game. So it's kind of like Evil Fall Guys or Stumble Guys. So again, like, I don't know if this is the right thing or not, but if you want to talk about something different and a different strategy, we haven't seen them do something outside the network. We haven't seen them have IAP. And I don't know how much we've seen multiplayer inside of these games. I know Monument Valley 3 is out, and actually that feels like, like quintessential single player. So they still have like that strategy, but I don't know. Kress, thoughts? Different?
That's
Change
cool.
your mind?
That's cool.
Oh.
But
Here's the but. It's Kress.
You can download it directly from the App Store.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I'm saying, is it's free on the App Store.
Well, what the fuck?
They're trying to bring value to their IP, though,
to-
Eric. This is what it's about. It's about enhancing the value of their existing brands.
And maybe they want some of the games to make money.
They're IP vehicles. Where's my Emily in Paris fucking dress-up game? You better give this to me. Stop with this story bullshit. Give me Infinity Emily.
Like Bridgerton. Can you imagine
Where's
what
Ethan?
you could do with the Bridgerton?
Bridgerton Match 3. Where are the obvious plays that we've been yelling about on this podcast? The Circle is the next revolution of social media, free-to-play game that could exist. Nothing.
Yeah.
So if this is the strategy, though, if this is a real shift in strategy, that like games are basically just an IP, a vehicle to support our IP. I don't know. That makes more sense to me. Okay, it's a marketing line item. It's franchise P&L. I'm in Gen Math now.
That's not sexy.
Top of the
though.
funnel
That's not cool,
awareness.
That's not the point. The point is to build retention and conversion for new audiences and like build their subscription business, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're
Let's
not
start
trying
with
to
a win
promote
somewhere.
with
Okay.
tchotchke games your franchises. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I would think of it as extension and creating better value for the great IP universe. Then I don't think the marketing play is the right play. Although I will say, I think a little bit of what they did with Squid Games here was a marketing play of like, look, to promote the new season. I haven't watched it yet, although Squid Games 1 was pretty good, is to say, now there's a mobile game that everyone can. I would have actually thought they would have said, no, the right idea is to say you can only get that Squid Games game if you subscribe to the platform and come and see all of this.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it felt like a very weird strategy to be like, no, one and for all.
Wait, let's like put a pin in this, but like I think to Mishka's point, like I think it's 2026 that we actually see the new strategy kind of play out. Like all this stuff is remnants of the old guard. So
Yeah.
once we start to see like some evidence that there's a new direction, maybe we'll see some interesting activity. But for now, the Squid Game thing is actually kind of interesting, but it's not making any money, by the way. But it's just not even out yet.
Well, it just launched. Yeah, like let's check in on it.
Yeah, we'll check in on it.
It's
but I think
interesting.
it's a cool idea. If it was part of the subscription, that would even make more sense to me. But
crazy.
whatever.
I'll give my quick prediction on Netflix in 2026. I think they're gonna circle back and just end up with licensing. So only third-party production. They're gonna do only licensed game with their IPs, just like everybody else. They're gonna cut all that. They're gonna and at the end of everything, they have spent $5 billion. And somebody will ask, why don't we just buy Scopely rather than just starting to do this? That will be the end of it, and there will be a licensing shop. Unfortunately, because they're kind of going in all the directions right now. Anyways, talking about going into all the directions and spending a little bit of money doing it, UK-based game developer Build a Rocket Boy has acquired US-based PC and console games publisher and developer PlayFusion for an undisclosed sum. Now, if you don't know, Build a Rocket Boy has raised over $110 million over 4 or 5 funding rounds. I think the last round was round D, which is very rare in the gaming business. Like Scopely, I think, raised F round was the last one. On paper, this company was founded by Rockstar OGs, like the Rockstar founders, Leslie Benzie and so forth. They founded this company 8 years ago, and they have never shipped a game. They raised $100 million, over $100 million from investors. I'm sure the founders, who were, very talented game makers, have made an exit through their secondaries. And this is a company that is essentially owned by venture capitalists and private equity. And as a founder whisperer, I salute this. It's not stupid to ask, it's stupid to give. So in the upcoming TWIG Awards, I'm definitely putting this company into the limping donkey category. It's interesting what happens from this. So any takes on Build a Rocket Boy?
Who funded these guys?
I think Redbird was in the latest round. So we're talking about big investors already.
Oh, NetEase. Oh, Galaxy. That's why. That makes sense.
No, Galaxy's a small money compared to like Redbird. I think Redbird was the last one, right?
I'm clearly in the wrong
part
of the game industry.
So we're already grabbing from private equity. I salute this. Like, don't take this in the wrong way. I think this is the correct way to take the private equity money.
On behalf of the people putting money in their pocketbook, not on behalf of VCs or players.
Yes. So I'm saluting the founders of bamboozling the VCs and the private equity.
Yeah. How about all the victims in this thing? Like all the pension funds and all the grandma's money that's in these VCs, right?
Only a tiny percentage of pension funds goes into the VCs, and it's a risk category. It's maximum 5% of the endowments.
Okay.
How about these poor private schools like Harvard and their big endowments, right?
Again, a tiny portion.
All right,
anyways, so talking about funds, UAE, so United Arab Emirates-based Beam Foundation has announced plans to launch Beam Ventures, a $150 million Abu Dhabi-based fund targeting gaming sector. So this is another thing I salute. I was just recently in Abu Dhabi, and I actually will be in UAE tomorrow. We got 3 episodes coming in from the Abu Dhabi event with Google, and I salute this again. They're investing into the gaming sector. They're growing their own.
Who are these guys? Do you know them?
I don't know Beam, but when I was in Abu Dhabi, I visited the local gaming hub. It looked really cool. Like everything was Razer. Everything was like new building. It was like a media hub. So there was a comic company. There was like a CNN thing. There was like all the like media was around this new awesome building. So right next to the Yas Arena. I mean, I salute this.
Mishka, I am going to reach around your throat and choke you. What the fuck? Who gives a fuck about Razer and all this other bullshit? Like, are these guys any good at what they do, right?
Oh,
are they
I don't know
are they
about,
actually people that know games?
I don't know about Beam Ventures. I'm just describing you the facilities that I went to. They built it's called Creative
cares?
Hub. I do. I do.
They have money.
It's
but
just
make
Smoke and
sure-
mirrors, Mishka.
Yeah, this is like
Yeah.
like the vaporware of venture capital, right? Like if it's just a mirage of opulence, it has nothing to do with like whether they'll be successful in venture investing. Meanwhile,
It's not a mirage. Let's put it this way. It's very real. There is opulence.
no, it's not. No, that's exactly right. It's not real, right? It's just a bunch of guys with a lot of money that are going to throw money at whatever it's six. They don't know what they're doing, right?
Oh, so again, I don't know Beam Foundation at all.
Yeah,
I just read the
want
news.
to. What would be insightful is to know who these guys are at Beam that are actually going to make investments to see if they have like the chops to do so, right?
Mm.
Like the A16Z guys, like for a while, it was like a football player and a fucking tax accountant from Ernst and Young, right? Like, no, they do not have the qualifications to make good investments in games, right? Like that's important, right? So this is what I want to know, right?
However, the A16Z folks have upgraded and have many industry
yeah, I like
folks
those
now.
guys.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
Josh
correct. Okay,
and
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
his name is. Yeah, those guys
Robin.
are good now. I
Yeah.
mean, they have some depth in the bench
Yeah.
now,
Hey,
right?
Doug McCracken's doing marketing, like really smart guy, worked at
Yeah.
Supercell. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? The Game Fund just announced a $150 million round, right?
There's quite a few that came out this week of like funds in this range.
Oh my God, I got to look it up now.
I know, I forgot the
that's my
name of
bad.
them.
But anyway,
too,
that
actually.
is a fucking legit. Like those guys are
Play
OG, right?
Ventures?
They know what they're doing.
V
Play Ventures?
Games?
V
Ventures.
games. Yeah.
V games,
games,
yeah.
V
V
games,
games.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Like
Israeli.
those guys, that's where you should be going, right? All you guys looking for funding, go call those guys. Like they're going to give you the right type of advice. I don't know about Beam. I don't know about 16Z or Lightspeed or any of these other guys. Go to these OG, Play, V Games. Like those guys know what they're doing, Leighton,
Yeah.
right? Come on.
Did you put Craft in that crew? I think they feel it. I feel like they know what they're doing.
No, too much crypto.
Yeah, too much crypto.
It runs the brain.
we're gonna have Nico on. And I really want him to explain himself at this point.
No.
But like this is gonna be really funny. Well, actually, you're probably not gonna do it, but I want to do it.
Yeah. Well, it's a funny time to talk, Web3 gaming and crypto with Bitcoin hitting 108 or where, like Bitcoin's
Enough.
on fire.
The Bitcoin ETH price doesn't have anything to do with gaming.
Really?
It doesn't. It does not. None of these games have had any traction other than the fact that some of the coins are going up, but that doesn't mean shit.
Oh no, I agree from a standpoint of like, is the game any good or not? But
Yeah.
they're all like, wee, like everything is awesome.
Jen, I can tell you, I was talking to Plays. Play also has a crypto fund. Kendrick is running it. And talking to him, I'm like, you must be fucking happy. I was like, he lives in Singapore. He's not American. I was like, if you could have voted for Trump, you would have probably voted like 200 times. It's like, now everything is good. Fucking
and
crypto is
coins,
up.
yeah.
And so that helps significantly because a lot of these funds also hold a lot of tokens. And when tokens go up, now the fund is great. But imagine running a crypto fund for the last couple of years before Trump came back. Like, dude, you're looking at bad numbers. Now everything is peachy. Everything
I disagree
is fine.
with that 100%. Like you're still looking at bad numbers if your companies are not succeeding, right? Regardless of whether or not the
Yes.
coins are doing well. Like if you have your personal investments, sure, but like
But the funds held a lot of their assets in
all right,
tokens.
all right. Fine. Okay.
Yeah. So they're
We'll see how long that
significantly up.
lasts.
Yeah. It's fake, it's vapor, to Kress's earlier point is it doesn't change the fundamentals of the
Yes.
business.
Yeah.
However, everyone is just caught up, I think, in the hype right now of growing crypto coins. And people need to still think about, is this a game that people want to play?
Yes. Yeah. I 100%
All right,
agree.
let's
All right,
move
let's
on.
go.
Let's move on to real games.
Real
and I want to hear
games.
about the update
All right,
on the
let's
races.
talk about it.
So we have an update from our 3 little tadpoles. Let's see how they're swimming along. We have Path of Exile 2, we have Marvel Rivals, and we have Delta Force. If you remember, Infinity Nikki is not here because they chose to launch on EGS. So we don't have public data available for them. But EGS, I'd really appreciate you guys doing something like this. I'm not quite sure what's holding you back. We won't report on you until you do. But here's a shocker to end the year. We were betting on which one might succeed between the 3 of them. But a week later, it looks like all of them are doing pretty well.
Wow.
In terms of PSU, they have declined. So you have Path of Exile 2, which peaked at around 570,000 active users. Its 24-hour peak is 400,000. So yes, they have lost about 178,000 over a week. But again, we're just looking at a peak there. Marvel Rivals has fared a lot better. They had
Yes.
a all-time peak of 480K PSU, and their 24-hour peak is 400K PSU, so they only lost 80K peak PSU. And Delta Force has been steady Eddie. They're at about 90,000 PSU, and they were at 120 at their max, but it has been incredibly steady for Delta Force, more so than it looks like the other two games. So who knows? Maybe the storyline here is that there aren't winners and losers. Maybe they're just winners. I mean, Path of Exile 2 is already going to walk away a winner with, $500 SKUs and $30 SKUs to go on top of this. But, maybe that's the outcome.
That's such a good graph to look at, finally.
Where are they in the rankings versus like the top 10?
Delta Force has slipped outside the top 10. I think it hangs around the top 20. Path of Exile, Marvel Rivals are usually top 10, top 5, top around there.
You got to think that Delta Force is a bit of a disappointment, though.
Yeah.
That low level.
I think that's true, but what I'd go back to is the 40 million pre-registration number in China across mobile and
right.
in China. So I think if this is just the West, if this maintains, it's going to be a small Western share, but it's still a nice little cherry on top.
Yeah, Phil, what I learned from your podcast, which was really great. Again, I didn't get a chance to tell you in person. I really enjoyed the conversation with the GM of the studio. And what he said was that they had launched in China on PC earlier in the year. And so they had already been getting a lot of data and metrics. And so you're right. I think this is like not as core to their overall business. It's a cherry on top because they already have, hopefully, I mean, I don't know if we know anything different, a successful run in China.
I don't. It's tough because it's not on Steam in China, either the Chinese version of Steam or the global one. They use direct distribution or they use Tencent's, I forget the name of the platform, WeGame or something. But as one faithful LinkedIn commenter said, it's like having a nice meal in a toilet or something. There was one Chinese commenter. That's what I was saying about it. I'll try to find the proverb.
Oh, please. We need to bring in more Chinese sayings then.
Step into the future of game monetization with Xsolla, the premier partner for game developers seeking to expand their reach and revenue. Xsolla provides a robust suite of tools designed to enhance user acquisition, manage subscriptions, and streamline payment solutions worldwide. Unlock new markets and maximize profitability through their customized, secure payment architecture and dedicated support team. Xsolla, powering game developers to achieve global success.
This podcast is brought to you by AppsFlyer. In today's digital world, understanding your app's journey from discovery to download is more than just insightful, it's essential. Enter AppsFlyer, the leader in mobile attribution and marketing analytics that allows you to measure the full potential of your marketing efforts, making every ad dollar work smarter. With AppsFlyer, that's your new reality. Dive deep into data-driven insights that reveal exactly where your users come from and how they'll interact with your app. AppsFlyer, where your app's potential meets performance.
So I think the other thing as we start to close the year is to reflect on what the winners are. And I think one of them has really been Pokemon TCG Pocket. Although there's been some interesting activity lately, we keep going back to the shark fin or stabilize for Pokemon TCG Pocket. And so far the story has been largely stabilization, but there have been a couple chinks in the armor. So like one of them is that we have seen a little bit of a drop in revenue over the last couple of years or last couple of days. So they were hitting these peaks of steadily around 5 million, and that started to drop around 3 million, even hitting 2.5. Now, again, that's still a monster success. You're talking about over a $500 million run rate next year, even if it were to continue its lowest point. The problem here is like, is it able to continue a trend? And this recent uptick we just saw on December 16th is the launch of one of their first events with this sort of scale. And so it's peaking with the new event at around where it used to peak at around 5 million. So I do think there are some trends here that are a little bit concerning. If we look at downloads right now, they have been at a very small linear decline. It's not falling off a cliff, but you can see the trend line and the slope is negative and they haven't quite stabilized yet. And so that is something that is going to continue to be an issue. If they're not having a replacement rate of 1, then they're going to be shrinking. And if they're going to be shrinking, then revenue will eventually fall in the long run. The other thing that was interesting is the country dynamic that we started to talk about. So the United States and Japan compose such a large part of the revenue for Pokemon Go. I think the exact number is around 85 to 90%, that if either of these countries downloads, have a hiccup, then the game catches a cold. And what we're seeing is that the United States downloads are declining at a faster rate than the Japanese downloads, which is okay because the Japanese produce so much money per user in this game. But the audience is increasingly becoming Japanese, which I think is another observation here. So about 40% of DAU is Japanese, according to Sensor Tower estimates, and that's up from their launch at about 20%. So I'll also be curious to see Pokemon TCG Pocket bet on a shrinking country, but at least the Japanese share is increasing. There's one last thing I want to point out that I think has gone a little bit unreported, which is that Pokemon Go is kind of in the shitter since TCG Pocket came out.
Ooh.
I really think that they're competing for similar UA profiles or similar traffic here. So we're looking at the week of October 28th when Pokemon TCG Pocket launched. And there was a decline in Pokemon Go downloads before then. So we could be just seeing a long run trend, although it seems like the rate of decline increases after Pokemon TCG Pocket. So it peaks at around 800,000. And right now it's about 400,000 downloads since Pokemon TCG Pocket is out.
Yeah. Welcome to licensing.
Yeah.
Right. Like, anytime I work on an IP, this is the number one thing we complain about is how do you make sure that you have a unique and differentiated view of that IP versus somebody else, because consumer confusion is the thing. Like, how does general player know what Go is versus TCG Pocket? So, and sometimes there can be only one. Like, it's not like you're going to play 5 Marvel games. You're going to play 1 or 2. And for Pokemon, it looks like they're getting a little bit hit by that. So if you're a marketer on either one of these, you really got to look for the differentiation. You got to really slap your logo on all of your UA and really go after TCG. Like, if I were them or if I were Go, I would really be leaning into my specific branding, because it's not just about Pokemon anymore. Now you got to actually compete.
2 points. One is that the latest data, like the last 3 or 4 days, they've released new content, I think, and the revenue numbers are at all-time highs at this point. So it's about the content cadence and putting out new characters and spending. I'm going to push back on your idea about the downloads thing and how you're competing. I think you're competing for spenders. You're not necessarily competing for these incremental downloads, really, right? So the spenders from Pokemon Go are likely coming to TCG and playing that game and spending there versus spending on Pokemon Go. Like, it's a very, very small audience of spenders, as we know, in both North America. Maybe it's a little bit bigger in Japan on a relative basis, but so I think that's what they're doing, is they're competing against the spenders. And that's part of the reason why Genshin and Miyoho has been cannibalizing itself to death, is because they're basically catering to the same audience of people that are willing to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on this nonsense, right?
That's fair, Kress. No, listen, at the end of the day, you're right. And I'm thinking, when I meant downloads, I meant top of funnel. You're out there with your fishing rod or your sniper rifle looking for the spenders. And I think what TCG is doing versus what Go is doing is giving you the real IP fantasy of collecting the cards better than it did in Go. And so if I were them, and to capture, the lower funnel, which is what you're talking about, which is the spender, how do you communicate that in your ad of like, why do you want to come here, first of all? And then why is it better to spend your money here than in that Go game? And do it like that.
Yeah, not to mention, they don't have to get their fat asses out of their chair, right? They don't have to walk around, right? So it's like, this is like their dream, right? They just sit there lay in their bed, lay in their couch and fucking swipe all goddamn day. Fucking dream accomplished.
Pokemon no-go.
Oh my God.
Pokemon Stay.
My God. That is the best. If I were the marketer on TCG, I would be doing Pokemon no-go ads all day long. Like sitting in your home, comfortable, Netflix and chill, playing. Oh, yeah,
Dude,
absolutely.
We solved it.
Solved it. Like last couple weeks ago, it was, put humans in a Pikachu outfit and do furry, like UGC. Now it's this Pokemon no-go. Phil, you're like, both. We must, through osmosis, I think I'm turning the 3 of you into marketers. Like, I am so proud of you right now. Thank you for this holiday gift.
I've always held the position that brand marketing is the funnest waste of money you can have on a company budget. I've always held that position.
I kind of second that motion in sort of, in a way. All right. So what else we got? Royal Kingdom?
So quick update on Royal Kingdom. This isn't a deep dive right now, but it's supposed to be one of the biggest launches of the year. I think we owe it to check in. And I think the tough part with this game is, what do you benchmark it against? And so what I initially tried to do is look at category rankings for the United States for both Royal Match and Royal Kingdom over time. And one of, I think, the early data reads on Royal Kingdom is then it's been off to a slow start. And when I looked at the KPIs in terms of absolute values, I agreed with that. But what I benchmarked it against the category rankings for Royal Match when it came out, it didn't launch at number 1. It actually had a little bit of a rocky start. We're looking at the graph right here, which is games casual for iPhone, which I think is the most important category for this particular game. But Royal Match had a pretty rocky history, honestly, for 2 years. And I don't want to say rocky here, but it was bouncing between, let's say, the 10th and 40th place on a consistent basis. And then it just goes Super Saiyan in 2023. At the beginning of January, they're just like, fuck it. I guess they showed up with a ton of UA money, and they're just pushing this game to no one. And that's really where it lifts off. When we were going over those graphs, comparing all the different key match games, one of the things that really stood out was how fast Royal Match had blown up in terms of quarterly revenue numbers. And you can really see it reflected here and them, likely pushing UA. And it slipped a little bit, Royal Match, recently. It's unlodged its position. And interestingly, it's actually unlodged quite a bit since Royal Kingdom came out. I'm sure that they're trying to reallocate some of the traffic. But again, when you look at it on this sort of basis, then Royal Kingdom actually looks like a stronger, more consistent start than Royal Match had.
I would like to publicly announce that I am rocking my 10,000 level badge in Royal Match. Thank you very much. I have passed 10,000 levels, a huge accomplishment. I expect an award from you all next week. And so I've been playing both games, and just to get a sense of what's the differentiation, and they are so similar. They are so similar. I can completely see a trade-off happening from everything that you, Phil, and Laura said about the progression of it in soft launch. I feel like they were trying to go more match 3 RPG, puzzle RPG, and then they dialed it all back to be a bit more casual and a bit more Royal Match. And I would say the danger in that is now you get a trade-off. And sometimes I'm like, well, this one's newer. Maybe I just play this one. And I've been lagging a little bit in my Royal Match play to play more Royal Kingdom because it's difficult to kind of maintain both.
Yeah. I mean, this has happened time and time again, right? I mean, King has been dealing with this cannibalization issue forever, right? So it's way too early to start calling out cannibalization. I just want to be clear on that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, but so far it doesn't look good, right? Like it doesn't look great, but 1 + 1 is not going to equal 2 at this rate. It's probably likely 1.25. Yeah.
Oh.
No. It's not going to go down, I don't think. But
Do you guys know how much Dream has raised?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that they're not going to meet those valuation targets at
Do you know how
these
much?
levels.
No.
About 470 million.
Jesus.
No, yeah, almost $500 million.
Yeah, they have like a $4 billion valuation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. I mean, that's great.
I don't really understand this perspective because they've clearly already paid back the valuation just in Royal Match itself. And even if they only add 1.5 rather than 1 + 1, are you kidding me? I'd fucking take half of a Royal Match any day of the week. I mean, in terms of just beating marginal cost, that's an insane opportunity. I would take that every single time someone offered to me. If this game does half the performance of Royal Match, it's half as additive, but it still adds to the overall portfolio revenue. You're telling me you wouldn't take that in a heartbeat? Because the other one was so monstrously half that success? Sounds good to me.
Again, you have to keep in mind their valuation, right? Like, if it's $4 billion, right, they need a 30-40% uptick, so they have to be worth like $6 billion.
Royal Match has already done that. Royal Match is what, doing over $1 billion a year, so you 5x that, $5 billion company.
Kress, don't get into valuation.
I mean,
Oh
the
my
UA.
God,
I mean,
dude.
the
Are
UA.
you kidding me, Philip? Do you know? How
He
can
doesn't.
you? Are you
He
just?
doesn't.
Are you trolling?
No,
There's
he
no
doesn't.
company worth 5 times revenue right now in mobile. You're out of your goddamn fucking mind.
Don't
It's like
worry
2x
about $100
max.
CPIs. Just put those aside.
You're out of your goddamn mind, Philip.
What is the mobile multiple right now, Kress?
I would say 2
3?
at most, maybe 2.5.
2?
The
And
Plarium
like
was 1.
10 times EBIT, right? Like that's the valuation right now. It's crazy low, right? Like I think some of it opens up next year with Trump and stuff with acquisitions, so that might actually help them.
Leah Khan is out.
I don't think they're for sale anyway. I think Dream Games is kind of fiercely independent, so they could just fucking cash out their, operating profit and just dividend themselves out in Cyprus or whatever the fuck they do out there. It's like they're fine, right? They're making
they
tons of money.
Turkey?
And that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the $4 billion valuation is looking a little rich right now, right? If this game is not incremental, because the valuations out there are not as high as what they're suggesting.
You won't find a lot of Turks cashing out in Cyprus, just to be clear. Like there's a geopolitical thing that you missed.
All right,
but
where are they going? Where do they go?
Well, they're in Turkey.
They don't have to go anywhere. They
yeah.
they go to Turkey. The taxation is phenomenal for founders.
Let's transition to Squadbusters.
Yes. So Squadbusters has a little bit of a different looking chart. So this is just this is
Shark fin.
That's not dude. That's like a minnow fin. It's not a shark fin.
It's a fin from Finland. So yeah. Anyway, so this was before the release. We're going to talk about Squadbusters' big update. So before the update came out, we're looking at November numbers. Like downloads collapsed. Revenue has been steadily declining. There's been this interesting narrative whenever I talk to somebody about this. They said, "Well, they're still making X and Y amount of revenue. Like it's pretty good."
No.
And I'm like,
No.
wait a minute. Are you talking about
No.
like? Basically people are saying like anybody would take it. I'm like, yes, but this is not anybody's game. This is Supercell's game. And it's not like they didn't promote this game or launch it bigly, like with the top tier Hollywood actors. There has to be some context. So this is like the dream would launch a game. And if it would look like this, would be having the same type of conversation. Anyway, let's talk about the product. So they released a big update, like one of those where Supercell is really trying to fix the game. And it addresses some of the core issues. So let's talk about the things that the new update brings. Now you can choose a game mode. So you can choose between 4 different game modes. You got the Showdown, which is a battle royale mode. They did not have this before. So here, there's no more gemming around. You're just basically blasting and last man standing. You got the gem hunt, which is essentially the same game as it was before. You got the duo gem hunt, which is the same game as you had before, but now you can partner up with a friend. I think they had this before. And then you have the squad league, which is again a random game mode of the 2 previous ones, Showdown or Gem Hunt, but now there's trophies. And it's quite interesting or confusing, or I don't know what to say, that they did not have a competitive mode when they launched this game originally. So weird, but nevertheless, there is a ranked mode now here. They removed the sort of a ticket system that they had. It was basically a soft limit for a session because you could open up 4 chests with every win, or 3 chests, and then those tickets were out and they were again loading and so forth. So basically a soft gate to after that, you're not getting as many rewards. In my opinion, this removes significant coin sink because I would buy with coins the tickets to earn more chests as I'm playing. It's a powerful loss aversion mechanic. And there's a daily win reward that replaces the ticket system. The daily win reward is essentially the same. Every 2 win, you get a chest. But now, after you've gotten all the chests, it just basically goes on a cooldown. So in shortly, they wanted you to play a bit more to probably solve the engagement problem. And then finally, they removed the win streaks. And that was one of the key USPs that the game had, is you again had a coin sink, so you could pay coins in order to keep winning at this win streak reward setting.
Well, this is way too much detail, dude. I don't even know if anybody gives a shit. But look, when was this thing released? Because there's absolutely no impact.
Just now. It was this week.
Like yesterday.
This week. Yeah.
Let me talk about 3 things that are issues with this game and whether they solve it. So number one, the issue is the diversity of gameplay. So the gameplay in Squadbusters is not, in my opinion, is very predictable and repetitive because you have essentially a single game mode, and little choice of different characters. So now they added these new game modes, the Battle Royale, essentially, the Ranked, and the Game Hunt, which is the SEM. But to me, when I was playing this game, it didn't feel very different. Battle Royale is a new game mode. I understand why this game mode was not at launch because it's quite chaotic. And in the end, the area just gets smaller and it's just a mess of these little characters shooting at each other. Fun maybe for a couple of games, but not very strategic to play more. The second issue that the game had was accessibility and depth. So what separates this game from Brawl Stars is that the Brawl Stars didn't lose the depth in favor of accessibility. Instead, Brawl Stars gradually exposes depth. They add gadgets, gear, star powers. Every character has so much depth as players level up their individual brawlers and unlock the new ones. In the new Squadbuster update, you can build your lineup before you start. So that's kind of like a way for them to add more strategy. But it feels to me still a bit more random, maybe because there's so many of these small characters put together rather than the one that you're playing with that you've equipped with certain gadgets and gears, as in Brawl Stars. And I feel like Brawl Stars really has more mastery still than Squadbusters. And that's, because it's not as chaotic as the gameplay is.
So hold up, zoom out for me.
Yeah.
Let's go from product director to like Supercell chief game officer. What are you going to do with this game, right? This game is performing at heyday levels right now. It is a rounding error on the P&L. Yeah. It's shown no improvement in the last year. What do you tell the team? What do you do with this product? Do you do what Clash Mini? We didn't get to cover this on the podcast, but they're going to fold Clash Mini into Clash Royale. They're going to stuff the game mode in there. Do you stuff this into Brawl Stars? Suddenly becomes an interesting play. Do you go games as a platform?
Phil, this is an excellent point. I think, yes, that's the best way, because the audience that should be playing this game is playing Brawl Stars. All the kids are playing Brawl Stars. They're not switching. They don't give a fuck about this game. And it's a worse game than Brawl Stars. It has similar characters, so I think it would make sense. I don't know if it would do anything for Brawl Stars. It's a nice little update. That's the only savior at this point. That's what you would do. But then we have to think strategically from the management position. They launched a game after 5 years of not being able to launch one, and it has been a disaster till date. And so that really kind of showed that Supercell can launch games, but hasn't been able to launch a game that sustains. So from management perspective, what I would do is do everything possible, throw as many bodies as needed, change people, just to find a way to make this game work. Because I think this,
sunk cost.
Get this,
that's total sunk cost fallacy.
That's a sunk cost, yeah. Dude.
I understand. But like strategically, as management, I understand why they're trying to make this game work. Like you should do everything possible to make this game work.
It's like adding spice to shit, right? Like it's over, right? And so they're just gonna keep shoveling it until like they explode, right? So just stop it, just stop, move the fuck on. You have Brawl Stars, it's crushing it. Move the whole team to something else, because the game ain't working, dude.
I agree, but there's two points here. There's the logical, what you just said, what I think Phil has a perfect solution for it, to make it a game mode. That's a logical decision. But then there's the illogical, and that is what the management team probably wants to do, is to showcase that they can, first of all, ship games, and secondly, they can turn around games, just like they turned around Brawl Stars. They believe that they can turn this around, and I don't think that they will put it as a mini game until they've exhausted all the options. And I think we'll see it sometimes towards the end of next year.
You know what they should do? They should sell it to Netflix.
Oh, ouch. Hospice for free-to-play returns.
For 1 year.
Yeah, for 1 year.
50 million.
License.
Get some of their fucking terrible marketing money back, right?
The thing is, it'll do about 50 million in a year. That's about what it made.
Yeah.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
At least they get guaranteed revenue. Right.
Yeah.
And Netflix has got checks. They got money to fucking burn over there, dude. All right, let's go. Moving on.
Right.
So we're going to end on the Game Awards. So the Game Awards 2024 grows 31% to a record 154 million live streams.
Wow.
And just massive. And so we're looking at a chart here. The magnitude of the Game Awards is pretty impressive. And my new BFF, Joost Van Drunen of Super Joost, noted that the Game Awards is bigger than the Super Bowl's audience. So Super Bowl, is that silly American football thing that we do every February, where we all just gather around with our friends to watch commercials, if that's, what you like to do. So the Super Bowl's audience actually last year had its biggest year in a long time, and it was only around maybe 118 million viewers, and this is 154. So the graph that he has, if you don't have his newsletter, you absolutely should, or follow him on LinkedIn. Like the Academy Awards, the Grammys, Major League Baseball's World Series, and the Video Music Awards are all like, 25 million and under viewers each and every year. So when you think about the game industry and you think about people watching this, my question is like, why the hell are we not more popular in pop culture with like mainstream? Like nobody talks about it. It's like Jeff Keighley is now more popular than like any of the hosts of these other. He could probably say he's more popular than some of these American football players.
No. Let's just
I'm
stop.
kidding. I'm kidding. All right.
Let's just hold the phone for a second. Okay.
All right.
First of all, when you talk about the Super Bowl, it is actual viewership, like engagement, like people watching like feverishly the entire game, right? When you talk about these like digital networks like YouTube, Twitch, Steam, Facebook, TikTok Live, WeChat, Bilibili, Huya, all these different platforms. These are not people necessarily engaging 100% of the time watching 3 hours of fucking bullshit, right? These are like people hopping in, hopping out, right? Part of the problem with Twitch has always been the fact that people aren't even actively watching Twitch as they watch the streams. It's like on the background on a different monitor or something. So they're not really comparable, is what I'm trying to say from engagement perspective.
To your point, Eric, and I think there's actually a really important point on definition here, because the only way I could see this number reported as 154 million was a press release from the Video Game Awards.
Yeah, I call bullshit on this.
I like to understand how they did their accounting, because Nielsen, when you look at Super Bowl and you look at all these other TV ratings, Nielsen has boxes that are literally installed in people's homes that measures what they're watching, and they have a sample on what it counts to be considered a viewer. And I guarantee you that the Video Game Awards did not use the same methodology. And you're telling me,
or definition of viewer, right?
Well, the plot thickens because the numbers that they did cite from specific platforms, I think they said around 2 million from YouTube. They said around maybe 1 million from Twitch. But when you add those up, I'm like, how do you get to 154 million on the spreadsheet? It's like, are you telling me WeChat is 100 million Video Game Awards?
Well,
was this live translated in China?
It's all kind of clips. It has to be TikTok views. It has to be all of that because
that's a really important point when people are throwing this number around that no one has given context to.
Okay, but I'm calling out Yost for a second here, right? He must know that this stuff is not accurate, right? In a way, he's like a really, really, really smart guy.
So I hear what you guys are saying, and the article from VentureBeat actually is where they covered a lot of this as well, and there's a lot of data.
VentureBeat
on the numbers.
is just press releases, though.
Yeah.
It's just press. It's literally stated as their purpose is to be a press release blog.
Well, yeah, this is not a Nielsen, this is very difficult to do a one-to-one on what you're talking about with Nielsen. And by the way, I don't even know if that's all that great, because that basically extrapolates 3,000 people in the country watching something and then says, well, like that's a portion of the US population. So it extrapolates.
That model has been around for decades, and it's been back, and it's used for actually ad dollars, right? Like it's actually well-respected methodology that is actually used for real money, right?
If this did 154 million, where are the $30 million 30-second ad spots or something?
Yeah.
Like if that was the big question here. Like if you just put this together, if it was that much, I want to know how much an ad spot was. And we know they do sell ad spots. 600,000. Are you kidding me? 154 million? 154 million for that much? That cost per impression is fucking nothing. That price should be way higher if this was legitimate.
Well, so he's got two events. He's got the summer event and he's got the Game Awards. And by the way, I don't know if you would sit through the Oscars or any of these other shows and where half or more of the stream was basically commercials.
Yeah, no one watches them. The Grammys suck. No one's watching that shit anymore. The ratings are in all-time lows.
Agree.
And so is Major League Baseball. The Super Bowl is the only one that has an uptick here because it's exciting.
I don't think our industry has the cash. And by the way, all of the ads are from the game industry. When you have those other platforms, your whole purpose is to pull in brands to advertise in your spot. So our audience would not be okay with a Budweiser, Nike bullshit ad inside of the...
You're hitting 154 million. You have to have a big cross section. We should at least see Razer products being advertised.
Monster,
like peripheral.
Monster energy drink, Red Bull.
Yes.
No, because no one's looking at the ad. No one's engaged enough to look at ads. I mean, this is all clips and bullshit, dude. I don't like this. I don't like the gaslighting either. I think people throwing this stuff out there and they know it's not accurate and they just do it anyway. Yost knows better, right? I know he knows better, right? And he has some other agenda for putting this stuff out there, but like it doesn't make sense to me that people are so focused on this.
But you guys put in the Statista thing, which is the same numbers.
Statista just sources from other places. Statista is the Wikipedia of statistics. It should not be trusted.
But it also it gave more context about what the properties were. And if you look at the properties, they're all bullshit, right? It's like,
what do you mean the properties are bullshit? Like
WeChat, TikTok Live, Facebook, these are not like engagement platforms. These are just like quick hit type platforms, right? On a relative basis, this is really good for the Game Awards, right? The fact is they are using the same methodology to track how many people are interested in this content, right? There are more people that are interested in this content. Therefore, there are likely more people that are interested in games and stuff like that. This is all good for the business. But where it's disingenuous is when you're comparing it to completely different metrics that are on completely different systems and methodologies.
Yeah.
And that's the part that's bothering me. So good for Jeff Keighley. We need stuff like this because we don't have showcases for games anymore because E3's gone. So this is a good way of doing that, a 3-hour marathon of some nonsense. By all measures, by the people I listen to anyway, they all loved it. Like this year was a lot better than last year.
Yeah.
He did a much better job of pulling it together from a content perspective. So hats off to him. I just wouldn't be comparing it to NFL.
To be clear, like we were all positive about the event, but in order to compare apples to apples, you would probably have to add all the TikTok and YouTube shorts of a Super Bowl with all the takes and all the press, like everything from that, and then put that number, which would be like, I don't know, 15 billion, and start comparing it.
So that's not what they added, though. They added the viewing of the event on those platforms. Think about them as networks.
Shorts.
And the challenge that we have, it is Apple. So listen, number one is you're right. It's apples and oranges. But because of the platform, the distribution is through YouTube. And then there's all of these co-viewing events. And so they are counting all of that. And you're right. Perhaps we're not counting all of the people who might be streaming the Super Bowl and watching that. They're only counting the Fox or the NBC broadcast number. So I get what you're saying. However, I do think that pretend like it was a little bit less. I mean, it's massive, 154 versus most of those other major events at like 25. Even if it's half, it's still Lightyear, get it? Buzz Lightyear. Anyway, it's a callback. That was a callback to an earlier part of the episode. So anyway, okay. So let me just do a quick winners and losers, because I would love to hear what you guys actually liked for it. So just a quick summary. So Astro Boy got Game of the Year. They got a few other awards as well. Announcements that were pretty big. The Witcher 4, that looked pretty amazing. There's a little bit of controversy because Ciri is going to be the main character and it's not Geralt
of Riviera?
Geralt. I even like the Netflix show and I messed up his name. So a little bit of controversy that there's a female character for Witcher, even though they pretty much set that up in The Witcher 3 from 2015. Anyway, the new Elden Ring, which has multiplayer, got a lot of really positive reviews.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, for the record, this is really smart From Software. Rather than doing Elden Ring 2 and doing the same exact game, they're actually innovating and building something new with co-op and more multiplayer. This actually gives a reason for people to come back. Those are the people that bought the game that didn't necessarily like it will actually have an opportunity to come and try this game with something different. So this is really smart, I think, from.
Agreed. A lot of nostalgic titles, another Tekken, Ninja Gaiden. Oh my God, I love playing that on the Sega Genesis back in the day. I played the shit out of that game. And there were a few other nostalgic titles that got announced. So some of the controversies, Black Myth. So they won the best action game. I think they were a little bit upset that they didn't get the game of the year. And so they expressed some of that on social media. And so that was a bit of a controversy. And then the Player's Voice Award debate. A number of the titles were gacha-based games. And those games may have incentivized players to vote for them, which hey, in these award shows, that's what everyone does. If you ever seen a Webby, oh my God, the Webbies, I think their entire strategy is to get the host to talk about them, to vote for the Webbies, even though, so I don't know how the Webbies makes money, but I imagine that's the case there. So
Wait. Hold on. So MiHoYo. Dude, they bribed their players to vote for them in this thing? That is fucking awesome. They won 3 of the 5? Dude, that's crazy.
All is fair in free-to-play warfare.
I know. That's right. Phillip Plack is just screaming at the rooftop.
He's like, well, what if we could monetize
That's fucking dirty shit,
voting?
though. That is some dirty shit right there.
What if you get gotcha polls if you agreed to go vote for it? That's going to be your next thing is, hey, everybody, go vote for us and we'll give you free polls.
I just love when monetization wins over the Reddit gamer. It goes into their Reddit spaces. I'm sure this just drove them insane.
So did you guys have any takes, things you liked or didn't like from the Game Awards? I'm
happy we have another marketing vehicle. That's good for industry GDP. And I'm pro-industry GDP.
I think galas are weird. When people just dress up. I'm so used to the Hollywood beautiful people dressing up. And then when we, the normal plebs, dress up, it's just not the same.
The one other thing to mention is they gave a Game Changer Award to Amir Satvat, who is kind of, the game industry saint who is trying to help folks to get jobs in the industry. And I was a little sad to hear that there was a lot of pushback against him. And he and his family even got death threats because people...
What?
Yeah, no, it's really sad. He's out there just trying to help in his spare time. And people were like, oh, you work for Tencent, so you're the cause of this problem. And like the guy has to work, right? Like he can't just do all of this for free. He does it in his spare time, actually. So he's got to have a job to like take care of his family. So I thought that was pretty shitty. Hey, if you're in the game industry, like, give this guy a kudo for helping out.
It's a numbers game. He has a huge following. There's going to be a bunch of assholes in that as well. Like, it's a numbers game when you have a big enough audience. So that's it.
The announcement from Naughty Dog about
Intergalactic,
the Heretic, I think that's risky, but I think that's pretty cool that they didn't do another Last of Us or something like that. But it's like a sci-fi, like action adventure game.
Yeah.
I think that was cool.
Shit. They got a lot of shit. I don't want to get into it, but the main character is an Asian person. Can't tell if it's a non-binary individual or not. And so the hate that they got for having a DEI character, it's the new thing to do. If you don't have a white male lead for a video game, you're going to get shit on in this day and age.
Yeah, let's move on.
We're
I'm
at
not touching that
time?
one.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the time. Look at that. Is
As
Santa
the
here already?
big goofy looking white guy on the podcast, I'm going to move on.
All right,
close the
everybody.
recording.
Thank you so much for this week. We're going to be back next week with an unfiltered episode. We're not going to script anything, and we're just going to talk out of our ass. So come back.
Just like
and
every
join
week.
us.
If you're having a shitty day with your family and you want to walk outside with your dog or just kick rocks, listen to this podcast next week. All right. Bye.
You did it. You made it to the end of the episode. As a fan of the show, it would help us out if you'd subscribe and leave us a review on the podcast service of your choice. Those stars and likes, while a small action on your part, mean a lot to us and help to grow the show. More importantly, are you a member of the Deconstructor of Fun Slack group? If you have 5 years or more of games industry experience, go to deconstructoroffun.com/Slack and apply to join. Join the games industry best professional community filled with peers always willing to lend a hand, or subscribe to our newsletter to get all the latest insights from the Deconstructor of Fun content creators. Thanks for listening.